Sal 215 asked what the difference is between an ascending triangle and a bull flag, and he also asked what a wedge is. So this was related to this update we did on gold. So let's try to answer these questions. So what we're looking at here is an ascending triangle pattern. We are, of course, making some deliberate liberties here in adjusting this. So we're ignoring the spike here that we saw on this market. If you go down to the 30-minute as well, you can see we spent a good couple of hours here, a good 12 hours. But if you look at this on a daily time frame, then you can see that this was not really significant in a way that we spent some time there, but then we dropped to the downside. And the ascending triangle, you get it by connecting 1, 2, 3 highs as a minimum, and then you can connect it like this. There's two ways of trading this. One will be the bullish side, and one will be the bearish side. Now, the trendline side, I personally never trade that unless there's some very strong reasons. Why? Because the trend lines can be drawn like that. It could be drawn like this. Some people will draw the base of the candle. So there's many different ways of drawing these levels when you have trend lines. Some people also have a logarithmic charts. So what happens here at the end of the day is that because it's not like one singular point, you're not going to get like this cascading effect. Whereas here, for example, it is quite clear that if we trade above this high here, that we will be above this high here and this closing price here. And this would most likely result that there's going to be a lot of stop loss orders and a lot of limit orders here. So whenever we push here, there's probably going to be a very nice effect where you actually push substantially higher. You can't really say this about this level here because, again, there's like at least 3 different ways of drawing these. That's why I don't trade trend lines sides. Now, this is an ascending triangle. And yeah, it doesn't look exactly like your textbook example. And again, it's never really going to be like that. You always have to take some liberties in interpreting the pattern. In the case of a bull flag, let me show you what a bull flag is. So this is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was stuck in a bull flag for a couple of days. You see, connect these levels here. You have 1, 2, 3. And then you can do like that. So you see, you're working with a channel. So this is a channel, but before preceding that channel, you had that move here. Now this is, imagine a flag, and this is the pole that you hold the flag. If you then copy this, place it like that, it suggests we can go substantially higher. Now, people do watch flags here, but I never taken them too serious. And also, these targets are very excessive. You can use them, but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on this. Instead, I would do something like this, okay? Like that. And just work with that target. Unless, of course, there's some really important reason why we should be holding it all the way to the upside. And of course, this is crypto, so if things go fast, then why not? Now, this is the tricky part. As I said before, things with trend lines usually don't have a good success rate. And this, for now, is not really doing too good, okay? So we had the break here, we moved up, then we had a hard retest, and then we moved up, but not much has happened since then. And this is obviously not great. So I'm not a big fan of trading these channels. Now, I did trade that channel, but I was also very quick of closing it out because it didn't really react the way I wanted. We have big changes coming out from the US on June 22nd. From that day, we should hopefully have an update on what the US government wants to do in terms of crypto. So I bought here, went up a little bit, and then went down, and also it was going down. I closed this out. Because right now, although from a channel perspective it's still bullish, if you look at it from this perspective, it's important, these important highs here. And what you're working on with here is either a channel, alternatively a triple top. So the triple top, the way it works is that when we break this level here, we take out this and this high, and then you can have a push to 123.16. So I actually have a limit order that is sitting here. I created that last night, and as you're sitting there, and hopefully we have that bullish push. And here I would probably do something like this. So targeting these levels, and then again, it's okay if the price goes back a bit into the pattern, but not too much. So that is your bull flag, the original one. This is just a triple top. Then we get a question, what is a wedge? So a wedge looks like this. So this is when you have trend lines converging like this, and it's very similar to the bull flag, where if you measure from here to there, and then you add them like that, it suggests we can go substantially higher. Now this one, again, just trend lines, it's even, the success rate on this one is worse. Because let's think about it from this perspective. It's very, very likely that the persons that were looking at this and that are specifically looking for wedge patterns, is very likely that they could have probably done something like this, okay? Because you had more than one wedge pattern here. So you had this one, right? So you had 1, 2, 3, 3, and then you got 3 on the bottom. Yep. But you can see here, this one, we pushed slightly above it and then turned a little bit weaker and then pushed above again and then down and then up again. But in no way did we get like a massive move. I think even if you measured the midpoint of this pattern, which I always like to measure the midpoint of patterns because that gives you a less aggressive target, we didn't come close to hitting not even the midpoint. And if one would have followed the textbook example and measured the base, even worse. And if one would have assumed and said, oh, we're going to have this kind of move, then you were definitely disappointed. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't work, but normally with any sort of trend line pattern, you tend to have a lot of false moves. You draw your first trend line, which was this one here, and then that one did not really take off. People that were focusing on this thing, yeah, maybe. But what happens is that you usually have at least one, probably two false breaks, and then on the third one, it happens. But what's interesting here is that by the time it breaks, okay, by the time it breaks, you start to get something like this. So horizontally, like here, if you look at this, you started to have other type of patterns here that become more relevant. You had this one here, which is more of a, it's also some sort of a wedge. And then you have like breaks to horizontal levels here. So you can see you create higher high, higher low, and then here you even have a third higher low, and then this would have been a third higher high. So maybe here, if you would then combine this with other bits and pieces of information, then suddenly you have something far more useful. So this is a little overview of what's a ascending triangle, what's a bull flag, and what's a wedge. And then we talked about how to manage these from a trading perspective. We talked about the targets, and then we measured, we talked about trend lines. The trend line patterns tend to be difficult to manage. And another final piece of information. In crypto, we can be a bit more greedy in a way that we don't have to wait too long. Sometimes when the market is really bullish, a pattern of 3 days old can work out. But otherwise, normally, these classical chart patterns, you need to give them at least 1 month. Some people say, oh, I only trade patterns that are three months old. And there's no doubt about it, okay? They are patterns. 3 months patterns have a higher success rate than a 1 month pattern. The problem is that sometimes if you wait for a 1 month pattern, for a 1 month pattern to turn into a 3 month pattern, you'll miss out. So my experience is that it's okay. 4 weeks is usually fine. Like right now, summertime, not even the bull flag we discussed in Bitcoin really has turned into something interesting. But what we do now have 41-day-old triple top, and if you want to take this whole thing into consideration, then we're between cycles for 60 days. So we're starting to get these kind of consolidations that we need to experience a strong push. I hope this answers your question, Salah215. If not, let us know. Thank you.